Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Irene and today I want to show you how I've DIYed this paint utility cabinet. I'm going to make the rack out of 3/4 inch by 4 inches pieces of lumber. I've decided to make the rack 5 foot high and 20 inches wide. And first of all, I'm marking and cutting off the sides of the rack. The leftovers of the two 7-foot pieces of lumber were just enough for a couple of shelves. I make them 18 inches long. And I'm also cutting two more 7-foot pieces of lumber to make the shelves. I'm gonna make 9 shelves in total. I'm also cutting 9 20 inches pieces of 3/4 inches wooden planks. They will be the front parts of the shelves. To assemble the rack, first I'm drilling all the shelves, making 2 holes on each side using a crack pocket hole jig. I'm using the Crack Junior kit here and I'll link it in the description box as usual. If you have no jig like this, you can also assemble the rack using wooden dowels and wood glue or metal brackets, although pocket hole connection is the most secure. Then I'm staining all the parts using water-based stain in oak. I've decided to stain everything before assembly in order to avoid unpainted areas due to glue. If you apply too much wood glue when assembling, it will come out in places when squeezing the parts, and if you don't wipe it off really quickly with a damp cloth, the wood stain will not get into wood in that area later, as glue will make kind of thin film over the wood and you may get ugly and stained spots because of this. I'm waiting for the glue to dry well and then I'll assemble the thing. First I'm fastening the topmost shelf, leaving some space near the top edge of the side wall. In order to keep the same distance on both sides, I'm fastening a template with a clamp here. This is a piece of MDF board, and attaching the shelf using this piece as a guide. I'm fastening the shelf first to one side wall and then to the other one. I'm also placing another shelf between the sides here to keep the desired distance between the sides. Next, I'll use 2 templates. These are also the pieces of MDF board 6 inches high. I'm placing them on the top shelf on the rack, which is standing upside down, placing the second shelf on top, also upside down of course, aligning everything and screwing it on. And exactly the same way I'm attaching all the 9 shelves, rearranging the templates higher and higher. Closer to the middle, the shelf installed with some difficulty. In a couple of places I had to ask my husband for help, but in general there's nothing too complicated about the assembly, as you can see. Then I'm attaching the fronts to the finished rack. I'm using wood glue here and fastening them with clamps until dry. By the way, as a result, I had to use as many as 4 clamps for each shelf and fasten the front plank both along the edges and closer to the middle, so that everything was holding tightly. Therefore, I had to do it in several steps. We simply didn't have so many clamps to do all the shelves' fronts at once. And one more small addition to the design, I'm fastening a plank of 1.5 by 2 inches to the bottom of the rack to reinforce it. After assembly, I've decided that the color of the cabinet is still too light, so I'm giving it another layer of stain. Since the rack is very shallow, we're going to affix it to the wall. To do this, Gary is attaching 4 metal L brackets to the rack. Since our DIY studio has a bit industrial look, the rack will be of industrial style as well. So, Gary has bought steel L-shape angled profiles. He's trying it on and marking it, and then he's cutting it off with an angle grinder. Of course, not everyone can do this. I probably wouldn't risk cutting metal on my own, but you can easily replace this profile with a wooden one, paint it black or even make it force sink looking, like I have shown many times. You really can't tell it's not real metal then. After the profiles are cut to size, Gary made 4 pieces of this trim, 1 for each corner of the rack. And next he's drilling the front 2 pieces for attaching screws. In fact, he's drilling the back ones as well, but it's enough to make 3 screws to hold the trim, and for the front ones, here he's making holes near each shelf to make a row of nice domed screw heads. And finally, I'm installing the trims and screwing them to place. For this project, we're using 3/4 inch domed head screws to make it look like rivets from a distance. Perhaps in the future I'll darken them a little so that they're not so shiny, but so far I've decided to leave them as they are. And all that is left is to affix the rack to the wall and to fill it, of course. At last I've racked all my paints out of the boxes where I stored them, and I'm placing them on the shelves. I had a small cabinet for paints in our village house. I made a video about it, but it was much smaller and I couldn't fit all I had. And when we started shooting in this studio, it had no place for storing paints at all. I kept them in file cabinet drawers, but it was very inconvenient as I couldn't see the color at once and I had to look for the needed paint in all the drawers, and now everything is right in front of me. Alas, there's still not enough space to place all the jars in one row as I wanted. I have so many glass and ceramic paints as I do a lot of antique Christmas ornament restoration work, but I'm going to add small wooden steps to the shelves and raise the second rows of paints to be able to see well what colors are in the second row. Now I'm dreaming of making a similar rack for spice jars, which I also have a lot. And by the way, this way of storage looks very attractive, I think. So I hope you liked this project. Actually, you can use this kind of cabinet for storing any small items like cosmetics or jewelry or some utilities, and therefore I hope it will be helpful for you in some way. Thanks for watching this video, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye!